Hey everyone, and welcome back to the studio. Today we're going to be talking about some of the different tools that I use in my painting process every day. Of course, some items are obvious, like a palette, brushes, and paint, but I want to cover some of the supporting elements that I think are essential to a productive day of painting. First up is one that you're probably already familiar with, a flexible metal palette knife. I use a palette knife for a variety of things, but it's the primary tool that I use in the setup and breakdown of my palette every day. I'll use it to scrape, lift, and smoothly transfer large quantities of paint from one location to another. There are a multitude of different knife shapes, some even designed specifically for palette knife painting, but for my purposes, I prefer a large, wide, and very flexible design known as a spade. This one is made by Liquitex, and you can see just how flexible it is here. Next up is my giant slab of marble. This might seem like an odd addition to the studio, but it's essential for remixing or adjusting the paint that comes out of the tube. I'll show you what I mean here by putting out some burnt umber. Now, sometimes tube paints can either separate and become oily or seize up and get too thick as they sit around. So I use the marble to correct these inconsistencies. I'll either remix separated paint, like I'm doing here with the umber, or I'll add a touch more linseed oil to paint that's gotten too thick as it sat over time. The smooth, polished surface of the marble provides the perfect workspace for this. I'll rework the paint to make sure it's the right consistency, then easily pick it up with my palette knife and transfer it to my palette. Because it's a polished surface, it also resists stains and is incredibly easy to clean. Our next item is a simple glass Pyrex dish. I like to keep a few of these around in various sizes for various purposes, including mixing paint to tone panels, which you can check out in my panel toning video. My main use for these dishes, however, is paint storage. Say we're finished using this umber that we have in our palette, but we don't want to waste it. I'll simply remove the paint from the palette with my palette knife and place it in the dish, making sure that it's securely stuck to the bottom surface. Because oil and water don't mix, you can fill this dish with water, making sure to cover the paint entirely, and it will preserve it until you're ready to paint again. That's a very brief explanation, so I'm planning to cover this process in more detail, so stay tuned for a future video. Hand in hand with the Pyrex dish is our next item, a simple phone book. As you can see, this is a giant yellow pages from a bygone pre- or early internet era. They don't distribute phone books anymore, at least not in my area, but you can find these on eBay for next to nothing. I'll show you how I use this. Let's break out another Pyrex dish, this one with my full palette of paint safely stored from a few days ago. Using my palette knife, I'll bring one of the colors out of the dish and transfer it to a page of the phone book. I'll spend a few seconds picking up and retransferring the paint to the page, then placing it on my palette. I do this because, as I said, water and oil don't mix, but once you pour the water out of the dish, remnants will bead up on the surface of the paint. By transferring the paint to the phone book first, you can effectively soak up that little bit of water, making it much easier to get the paint to stick to your palette. From there, you can simply follow the same process for each color that you have saved in your Pyrex. Once your entire palette is set up, just tear the page out of the phone book and dispose of it. This will leave you a fresh, clean sheet for later use, with relatively minimal paper waste. Now, speaking of disposal, oil painting can be messy. You're at least going to accumulate a lot of oily paper towels or paint rags throughout your day, so allow me to introduce the oily waste can. This metal can is one of the most important additions to my studio. It serves as a temporary safe haven for all of my oil painting trash. Now, oil paint is flammable, so there's a risk, though it is small, of things combusting if they sit compacted for long periods of time. You can pick up one of these cans online for $80 to $100, so if you don't have one, definitely get one. This can keeps things safe only temporarily, so it's also recommended that you empty it at the end of each day to help eliminate fire risk as well. And with that, there you have it. 5 essential tools that I use in my studio every day. I'd be curious to hear if you decide to try some of these out, but in the meantime, if you have any questions, I'd be really happy to answer them. Keep an eye out for that upcoming video on paint-saving techniques as well. I'm really excited to go into more depth there. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope this helps shed some light on my process kind of behind the scenes. Let me know in the comments if there are any cool or unique tools that you find useful in your studio. I'll see you all in the next video, and until then, happy painting!